although it's pretty much shared out as from what I understand from podcasts. Like, some certain squads, they change around who does the pre-team talks. But, if someone wants to get a message across clearly to everyone, I don't know if he's the right man. Again, I don't know if that was Reece James either, because from the outside looking in, he just looks like a player that sort of stands up to be counted when he plays. I'm not sure he's quite a vocal leader, and it's something I suppose Charlie mentioned where, before we signed any of our players, he wanted Jordan Henderson, Pickford for, that sort of captaincy role, and I'm not sure to what length Gallagher has taken that mount on, because as you've seen, he's been Chelsea captain a few times this season. So really, again, I think it starts at the top. It starts from the manager right down to the players that need to be, to be the senior players. Raheem Sterling, for one. I don't think he's been good enough. Again, like I say, the best version of Raheem Sterling is inconsistently consistent. So they all need a bit of help to bring each other's games up. And I think we're a team full of individuals, but not a good collective team at the moment. And like I say, you look at City, they don't have necessarily one captain. I think it's 11 captains, whereas we don't seem to have any captains. So yeah, I think that captaincy issue needs to be looked at.
And the captaincy issue needs to be looked at. I get it, but where do you need to? Where does it go? Because for the benefit of people that haven't seen, I think are we closing in on a deal for another young midfielder, £25 million or something along those lines. But it's another central midfielder in a position that's all overstacked, isn't it?
Yeah. According to reports, we've signed a Brazilian midfielder for 25 million or 20 million pounds, as I should say. And like I say, I think that brings up our spending of midfielders in like the last 12 months to nearly 300 million pounds. Because if you look at Enzo and Caicedo together, that's 220 million pounds. Add Lavia on, that's 260, 280 odd million. Yeah. Casadei, Ugochukwu, and now this supposed Brazilian player.
15 million.
Yeah, Gabriel Moscardo, 20 million pounds apparently. Or I've just read here that there's nothing agreed yet, but it looks like it's heading that way. But like I say, if we do end up spending that money, although we've spent quite a lot, what does it say about our club and where are we sort of heading towards? Are we becoming Borussia Dortmund? Because I understand that we want to, invest in a lot of young players before they make it big elsewhere, but we haven't exactly set up a system for these players to actually come through and process them through, if you know what I mean. It's like we've bought all the stock, but nowhere to put it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, it makes sense, and we're still severely lacking in the situation when it comes to a striker. Again, Groundhog Day. The striker situation is ridiculous. Like, surely we should be like Chelsea are trying to get this striker, Chelsea are trying to get this striker, but no, it's positions that are already overstocked. And if I hear rumours that we're looking to sign another winger again, I'll be fuming, because we don't need players in this position. Like, we've got so many players that are capable, but they're not getting the opportunities they need or to get consistent game time, to get minutes to improve and get better. We'll just see what we saw with, Mohamed Salah, that came to Chelsea and then disappeared and went to Roma and then excelled elsewhere because he got game time. We'll see the same for Kevin De Bruyne, who only made 3 league appearances for Chelsea. Who's widely regarded as one of the best midfielders to ever play in the Premier League. We're missing out on this scenario. And it's just clear cut. What we need is somebody that's capable to move and score goals and put it in the net. And I'm sick of it. I'm really just sick of it. It's just become so boring and so monotonous that, it's like, what's the thing you say? If you don't learn from history, you're just doomed to keep repeating yourself. And this just seems like it doesn't matter the ownership, towards the back end of it, with Roman, we were buying these type of players. And now with Bowley, it's just all the time. It's this, okay, we want to try and build these up, get as much money as we can for them and sell them to Real Madrid, sell them to not Barcelona, they're poor. Sell them to Real Madrid, sell them to Bayern Munich, sell them to these big clubs and come in and make these big offers, PSG. And it's, to me, it's a backward step. I don't think we are the club that should be doing that scenario. Like, if you want to do that and invest heavily in youth, like surely Bowley should have been looking at a club that would greatly warrant that level of investment. Maybe it's a bit. What's the word I'm looking for here? I can't even think of the word. But maybe it's a bit knobby. That's probably the best way I can say it. But a team like Everton, reported the losses of 350 million. They've got a new stadium coming in. They're going to want to fulfill that with superstars. Like, they would value that investment and bringing those players in and spending £1 billion on players, and then potentially selling them on. A lower level club would appreciate a lot more than Chelsea. And I think since Bowley has taken over the Clear Lake Capital, I think it's a big step back in terms of the mantra, unless he's saying, okay, well, we're actually going to keep these players because sod selling them on. We want to be in 5 years' time the best team in the Premier League, the best team in Europe. But realistically, the way we stand at the moment now is it's not going to be that way, is it? Because yes, they're on 9-year deals. They're all on stupidly long deals, but do these players want to be here for 8-9 years? Really?
I think that the more the paradigm changes and, the other clubs invest more, look more serious in terms of keeping their squads together and, pushing for titles, the more you do get, like Charlie said, mercenaries, people who are just here to pick up a pay packet or here as a stepping stone sort of thing. You won't see the best version of X player or Y player. You won't see the best version of Enzo Fernandez. You won't see the best version of Moises Caicedo, whoever. And 3-4 years down the line, they're playing. They do what some of our players have done. We've seen Kovacic leave for City, Havertz even leave for Arsenal. Although we may have been frustrated or not seen the best of them here, realistically, they've gone up a step in a sense. They've left at the perfect time and bettered themselves for their career to play at the top level. And it's sad to say, because we all saying we're so much better off without them. Yes, that may be true, but they've kind of strengthened their rivals and bettered themselves as a career, as a footballer, I would say. And we've sort of now
it's increased the opportunity to win things.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was trying to say. And you look at us; we've invested a lot in young players who've never done really much in the game. So it's like we've almost pushed the button back to square one, where we're thinking, okay, well, now we've got all these young, hungry players, but none of them have any experience in winning anything. How are they supposed to get up to winning something when your best, like I say, one of your best attackers is inconsistently consistent? How is that going to help them believe that they're here at a club that are going to be winning all the time? Because when you're at the top level, you need someone who's going to be on it every single week, every single time. As you've seen in the past, when Mykhailo was a youngster, he mentioned it. Training sessions were harder than games. He said when they went into a game on the weekend, it was easier than the training sessions, because the training sessions were really where the games were. Like, the players were competing so much against each other that it was so intense. Weekend was just like another day, and they were planning their nights out, before kickoff or whatever, and knowing that the other team, they'd already beaten them. And I think your likes of your Arsenals and Man Cities are probably the same. They're probably the same. With, we've done this before, guys. We play at such a high intensity. We know the opposition won't be able to cope with us, and I think we just need to do something to get to that level. Do I believe that's going to be under Pochettino? Not quite, but could he head us in the right direction? Maybe so. But
the problem is could it be Pochettino, or maybe so? Is he the person? Not quite, but who do you then bring in at that stage? Realistically, we've cycled through managers like they're going out of fashion. Like this, we've tried the whole with Clear Lake. We've gone with an up and comer manager in Graham Potter, one that's widely revered. Like, I know it didn't go well, but Graham Potter is widely revered by, footballers. They like playing for Graham Potter. It didn't look like it when he was in charge of Chelsea, but there is no manager really that we can go for in this scenario. I just think it's no fun.
I think it's a collective of
being a
things,
Chelsea
but
fan at
I
the
always
moment.
I will just say I think it's mainly down to the owners because even if I imagine Arteta, Guardiola with this squad, they're not doing anything with it. Sorry, but they're just not because this team is not balanced correctly. This team is not a thought out squad. I think a lot of our signings have been, you know, just targets of they're available, they're a big market signing, or they're good investment piece to sort of buy for now before they go elsewhere. And I think that kind of sums up the makeup of the squad at the moment. Of we'll get all the best players here, but realistically, how is it going to work? And I don't think that's the best strategy to always build a team because you don't always need the best players. Sometimes you need players who may not be good on the eye or may not have certain qualities, but bring other qualities that help enhance the best players you have.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at the kind of the manager situation that's available, there are a few managers that are available that could come in. That
I mean, do you
if you
then start looking at Mourinho again?
it's one of those. The problem is like, I think if you were to look at somebody like Mourinho, I think it's living in the past. I think it is a step back because Mourinho back in 2003 changed the game. He did. He changed the way managers manage. It was completely different. But now he's still doing that same style 20 years later. And everyone else kind of caught up. Really. So I think Mourinho is probably not an option, but the type of managers that are out there and still available, like if I look through a list, is like you've got the option for a young and up and coming manager, and whether like Ruud van Nistelrooy comes to Chelsea is an
Xabi
option. He did
Alonso.
really, really well. Yeah, with PSV, Xabi Alonso is an option, but Xabi Alonso is linked to Liverpool, not necessarily to take over from Liverpool, but he's been rumoured to be taking over from Tuchel for Bayern Munich, which is just boring again for the Bundesliga. But when you look at other like managers that are also available as well, you got Hansi Flick. The options there for Hansi Flick to come in through. Yes, is he got like a good record? Yes. A recent record in terms of like how he does things? No, not so much.
And
You got
he's
Julian
notorious for
Lopetegui.
falling out of players as well. So
Yep, which is perfect. You got Lopetegui as well. I'm sure I pronounced that right, but he's former Spain manager, former Real Madrid manager, Wolves. He's still living in Wolverhampton currently at the moment. Poor sod. I've lived in Wolverhampton for 3 years, and the sooner you can get out there, the better. He might jump at the chance, but you still got players like managers like Antonio Conte. Like, is a Conte return on the cards? Like, could that be some of that? Is that an option? Because let's face it, like Antonio Conte, he did win a Premier League with Chelsea in recent memory. He's the last manager to win a Premier League with Chelsea. He got a tune out of Victor Moses when everyone thought his career was finished. But then there's also Zinedine Zidane as well. So there are options out there, but I don't think Zidane speaks English, so that severely limits things like that. But we're digressing a little bit away from Chelsea Brighton preview, but. When we look at the Brighton squad, they've got a lot of suspensions. Mohamed Dahoud suspended, Lewis Dunk suspended, Matoma's injured, Incenso's injured, Tarek Lamptey's injured, Ansu Fati's injured, Percival Estepanon is injured, Danny Welbeck is injured, Solomon March is injured. But we learned from Saturday it doesn't make a blind bit of difference. The key is Chelsea and how they turn up. I was surprised that we didn't see Christopher Nkunku in the squad. I genuinely thought he'd probably be on the bench in this scenario. But do you see that Nkunku is probably going to be involved in the matchday squad this weekend?
Yeah, I could potentially see that. He'll probably get 10, 15 minutes max. I think it's a bit, like I say, it would be a bit of boost of confidence. But again, I don't want to get carried away because like we've seen, we can win 2 games, lose 2 games, draw 2 games. So really, it's about just keeping that consistency. In terms of Brighton themselves, what I'm really impressed about, they can change 11 players and still play the exact same way. and you won't notice a single player's gone off the pitch. You know, you've seen with Evan Ferguson, sometimes he switches out for Danny Welbeck, and you know, although Danny Welbeck may be old and whatnot, he'll still score a
He
goal.
seems to
And
perform for against us.
yeah.
He
And
certainly performs against us.
thank God he's out. Thank God he's out. But you know, don't sleep on Evan Ferguson, because we know how good he is as well. Um, they have other brilliant
And then
players,
they've
Billy
also got,
Gilmore.
João Pedro's on form as well. You know,
Yeah,
he scored 2
yeah.
at the weekend. Was it 2 at the weekend?
Mhm.
And then you got that player Simon and
Oh,
Ndigra.
yeah, yeah.
He's coming as well. He's joined very recently, and he's hit the ground rolling. Like he's the ground running. That's the
Running.
word.
And
He's hit the ground running.
yeah, and Brighton are the best sort of team that can suck you in and just play out from the back. They know how to do the simple side to side passing, and you know, really sort of box themselves in to create a bit of space and just hit you very quickly on transitions. And I think it's something we need to learn defensively. What I've noticed is when we press, the spaces between midfield, attack, and defense can be just got at so easily, so easily. And we're not compact enough when we go as a team to press, because I think what ends up happening is you'll get like 2 or 3 players in like really stretched positions, and we don't like having organized pressing, so it's easy to play around us. And once you do that, our midfield isn't good enough to sort of stop you in transition, and then it's just a straight run at our back four. And again, our back four, they don't really like to put in tackles straight away, as we've seen. Um, it's going to be a silly yellow card foul, or you pretty much getting a shot away, as we've seen against with Kulusevski, we've seen with against Burnley, we've seen against even Man City. I think we do need to do something about that defensive structure in transition.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting when we host Brighton at the weekend. We'd like to keep this for now, and we've gone slightly over. But what do you think we're looking at the weekend in terms of scoreline? Are you realistically, Brighton were on a bad run of form, I think, recently in the league, particularly, but they weren't at the weekend. But Brighton, last time they came to Stamford Bridge, pulled our pants down with that goal from Enciso. I was more confident going into the Newcastle game, bizarrely, but this time, I think that's just recency bias. I think we're probably gonna. I think the most we're gonna take away from this is a point in the grand scheme of things. I can't see us winning it. I mean, if Evan Ferguson turns up and he's Evan Ferguson of what they want 100 million plus, and Chelsea are looking at Evan and Ferguson as well, another player that we're going to try and steal from Brighton. Honestly, they must be laughing at us by now. I don't understand why he didn't just buy Brighton. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just buy Brighton.
Mm.
Just take it off of him. Like, just say, hey, here's £4 billion. Can I have Brighton Football Club, please? I'm going to say 1-1 draw.
Yeah, I think 2-2. And a funny stat I saw, I think Brighton are the only team who have scored and conceded in their last 15, 16 or 17 games. So they set a new record by doing that. And I don't see that changing against Chelsea, because, again, we're notorious. Well, we've conceded, 8 in the last 2 games, 9 in the last 3. So I think we will concede, but I also do see us scoring a goal. I don't think we're that bad, and we seem to have hit a bit of a patch of now actually getting goals. So I would back Sterling to grab 2, and maybe at Ferguson and one of their other players to get an equaliser. But yeah, I think 2-2 is the most logical scoreline.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see when we host Brighton on Sunday at 2 p.m. Tem, thank you very much for joining us. As ever, this is the We Talk Chelsea podcast. We are live on TKS TV. If you have found us this evening, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We will be back next week at 9:30, hopefully with the return of Mr. Charlie Harris as well. Temba, see you next week. To everyone else, thank you very much. Take care. Good night. Up to Chelsea.
Peace.